This is Sister Zainab, formerly known as Kirsteen James, and she's going to share a little bit of her story with us. So Sister Zainab, why don't you start with introducing yourself and tell us a little bit of background about yourself?
Okay, so my Islamic name is now Zainab. I'm a trained high school teacher, so I teach German and French. I was teaching that in Australia. I've come here to Iran on a ziyarat visa, which is a pilgrimage visa. I technically converted to Islam earlier this year. In April I said my Shahada, so it's been a very rapid journey for me. One of the initial reason for actually coming to Iran, in a sense, the very first factor was actually coming to see Islamic Pulse. I'd contacted them, just offering help with anything, writing, editing, translation. Well, to me, Islamic Pulse has been a great sort of learning tool, because obviously I'm just starting out. So it presents the fundamentals for me in a very easy way. So I've watched lots of the videos, so the biscuit videos are some of the others, and I share them a lot on Twitter too, and some of them I go back to and watch again and again. So I do reading too, so it's not just all watching videos, but for a Westerner, or maybe even for a Muslim who hasn't been such a committed Muslim, just needs to sort of refresh themselves or rejuvenate their beliefs, I think Islamic Pulse is wonderful. And it's so well presented, the videos are so good. I think it would speak to many people in the West.
You said you converted in May, right?
In April, yeah.
So if you don't mind, I would like to hear the steps that led you to that, like which made you convert in May, you know?
So I was born into a non-religious family, parents who are both possibly baptized, but I'm not actually sure, but completely non-religious. But I used to pray myself as a kid, and I was always pondering what is there? Where does all this come from? At school in Germany, because I grew up in Germany, we had religion classes at school, Catholic religion classes, Protestant, so I attended both. But I had big problems with some of the beliefs in Christianity, so I just couldn't understand the Holy Trinity thing, the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. That just didn't make sense to me personally. For other reasons, I'd actually stopped watching TV.
Firstly, it's interesting that you said about stop watching TV, and you stopped that first, because I myself had that experience. I was just a Muslim, and I actually became a Muslim after I stopped watching TV over there and picked up some books, you know.
What really got me onto the path of Islam, so obviously the one factor was not watching TV anymore, doing study. I started to prepare for a PhD topic on Palestine and Iran. And then I became very active on social media, and I sort of linked up with some very political people online, and they were sharing links on, political links, religious links, because they're actually all Shia Muslims. So I'd somehow just stumbled into this group of people with similar political interests, religious interests.
I'm sure you had already discovered about Sunni Islamists. Like when you researched about Islam, you probably saw there's a Sunni Islam and there's a Shia Islam. Like when they enter Islam, it's usually through the Sunni door. And then from there, they find out more truth and come towards the Shia side. So how was your story in this regard? Well,
mine's possibly a bit different, because all my contacts are Iranian, Iraqi, Lebanese, they're all Shia Muslims. So from the beginning, I was heavily influenced, but also just the very fact that the sort of lineage flows through Prophet Muhammad. To me, there's no questioning that. That's just the way it is, obviously. There can be nothing else other than the Imams. It flows through the family. Once I'd found out that obviously is what had been decreed, that it flows through Prophet Muhammad and his progeny, I would have realized that Shia Islam is what I call true Islam. I had then had a link with a local Shia community, which was the Sisters group. So that was really good in the beginning, but then I realized they're not politically interested at all.
Okay, you said about those sisters that they were not politically oriented or associated politically with Islam. So that was interesting for me to know that, you know, a woman in this age and time can be interested in politics so much that they would choose a group or not choose a group based on like political association, you know.
Well, to me, Islam is political. I can't separate them. To me, Islam is about building a better society, and you just can't do that while there's still people in the world who are being oppressed, or while the society that we live in is unfair, while we have people who are not being provided for, who are very poor. And obviously Islam can actually address all those issues. But probably the big force that really turned me towards Islam directly was reading Life of the Prophet Muhammad. And that really did it for me. Because I think up until then I'd had this idea, I didn't know that much about Islam. And I definitely had some idea that, oh, what was this thing with older wives? And as a woman I thought, oh, that's a bit odd. But once I'd read the life of the Prophet, I realized, oh no, it's the complete opposite, and I thought it was beautiful. And that just made me read more and more.
Everybody has heard of him from like forever, since they're born. So what changed about him in the information that you knew about him?
I just realized that Islam is just something very beautiful, and it's about building a good society. And that what Prophet Muhammad did was the very selfless thing, that he basically, well, he was marrying women who are older than him, who were widowed, and he was taking care of them, and in a sense, in that way also building a better society, because obviously otherwise some of these women might have been left on their own, not being provided for. So it's a very different way of looking at things in the world. So the West would, I suppose, not quite understand that. And yes, they too might have to turn off their TV and start doing some reading. So they actually expose themselves to something that is beautiful.
So what was people's reaction like from one day, the next day you were a Muslim, you announced people, you told people I'm a Muslim now?
Well, I think the very first comment I had was when I was, because I also run, I run wearing hijab. I'd just come back from a run with hijab on, and someone I don't know very well, just vaguely, spotted me across the street, and she called out, "Oh, you're all done up," as if I'd come from the beauty salon or the hairdresser. And then not long after that, friends of mine who, again, I was running around a lake, we have a lake where I live, and this quite close friend just commented to me, "Oh, are you cold?" But then there are other people who would come up to me and ask, they realised that obviously I'd become Muslim, and they were really interested. And I even had one Jewish lady who used to be quite Orthodox from the US come up to me, and she was almost in tears, because for her it was something really special when people choose their path. And so that was beautiful. So I've really good conversations too. People have this idea that wearing hijab is, or especially when you wear the chador, that this is an oppressed woman. And obviously I certainly didn't feel oppressed wearing hijab even in Perth, even though I get stares. I run and I do whatever I need to do. But then coming to Iran, obviously, because I didn't know what it's like in Iran. What's it like seeing women wearing chadors? What are women like who wear the chador? Now, I wear chador, and I watch other women who wear chador. And obviously, there's some women who are a bit more conservative, who will hide their face a bit more, because that's just the way they are. That's how they choose to live their life. But then I see a lot of women, all ages, so teenage girls who wear the chador with pride, and they're giggly, they're independent, they're strong, they're powerful, educated, curious. So
it's the opposite of everything.
It's the absolute opposite. So when I see women wearing full hijab or chador, to me that just is it signifies that women are a treasure. So especially when we're walking around the cities or even going into a mosque, obviously all the women get to wear this and the men just wear their normal clothes. Well, some of them might choose robes, but men just generally wear their standard clothes, and women get to look like this with different types of chadors, different colours, different designs, and their headscarves, and they literally are treasures. But they're not necessarily put on a pedestal. They're still completely part of life. And I see women obviously on the backs of motorbikes with their full chador, so it doesn't stop women at all.
This is your first time in Iran, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how does this, what kind of feel does this system give you, the system of Walayat Faqih?
Well, I think it's the only system that can produce a fair society in which all people are provided for, and people of all backgrounds, all faiths, and one in which men and women are treated equally. One in which women are treated with full respect, actually. That's something that I have noticed. And obviously it's unique. Iran is unique in the world. It's the only country that has this form of government.
What's your point of view on Rahbar?
On the leader? I just think Iran is very lucky to have a leader.
And what about those people who don't recognize this?
Oh, you mean the people who are influenced by the West? The people in the West, or any?
Not particularly anyone.
Just anyone. Well, that's because they probably don't know what he stands for and the actual role he has.
So do you listen to his speeches or read?
Yes, I have. I'm sure not that many compared to some of the people in Iran, but yes, I have. So I just think he is a wonderful man, and I do think you're truly blessed to have a leader like Khamenei. He would never ask for anything to be done that would compromise Islam in any way. So everything is in accordance with the principles of true Islam. So
well, it's really surprising for, I've never had a female be so interested and be saying, okay, you want to increase the level of politics, have you heard that before? It's very surprising, sister, very nice. What are your thoughts about Imam Zamana, about Imam Mahdi?
So thinking about Imam Mahdi to me brings in everything again. So it brings in politics and what we can do as Muslims, that we need to work together, that we need to link up much more. People talk about two camps. So there's going to be the camp of the Muslims who want to improve our lives, our humanity, and then who are prepared to give everything for that, who are prepared to sacrifice everything. And then there will people say there will be another camp of people. Some of them might well be Muslims, but they're just not prepared to go that extra step. They might just want to keep their car or their house or worry about their kids' activities. So for me, Imam Mahdi is the drive to keep working towards this better place.
Now that you are a Muslim and you see so much fighting going on in the world politically among Muslims, what are your thoughts about that? And what is the importance of unity in Muslims in your eyes?
Well, it's fundamentally important, and obviously the differences are, well, you could say they're minor, because the basic way we live our life should be the same. And that is obviously what the Supreme Leader in Iran recommends too. We need to create unity. I think Iran can do that with this of the base of Islam in Iran. We can.
And they've created a successful model for this.
And obviously Sunni Muslims they practice their Islam in Iran too. So and people of other faiths practice their faith in peace. And I remember reading that Iran is the safest place for Jews to practice their faith, because at least here synagogues don't need security. In all other countries in the world, I think synagogues actually need security. So yes, I think Iran is the model.
So is there any word you have for somebody who's attracted to Islam or wants to know more about it but is not really? What would be advice to those people?
I would actually suggest to actually go online to look up organisations like Islamic Pulse and to view some of their videos, read some of the articles, and if possible find some Muslims and just speak to them about what it is like. But maybe I'd actually just suggest something like Islamic Pulse, because what they explain is true Islam.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for having me.